how do you make a super performing sales cyborg? And by that I mean a salesperson who actually spends more than 33% of the time actively selling, because that's the statistics of today, that generally a salesperson is actually only spending 1/3 of the time of actively selling. That means when you have a salesperson in your company, only 33% of the time is actually going towards getting you that result that you hired them to do. So you're paying 2/3 of their salary to them to actually not creating the results that you want them to do in the first place. So just think about that for a second. But you can actually save up more time and make them spend at least over half the time and hopefully more with these tricks to make them a super performing sales cyborg. And I call it a sales cyborg because they have to use digital systems to actually free up more of their time. Imagine that you could free up 2 hours of time every day for each salesperson on your team. You can have both. You can free up those 2 hours of time every day, plus you can have very easily spend those 2 hours of actively selling. So let me show you how. First of all, today a lot of salespeople are not really using their CRM system very streamlined, you can say. They're not actively using the features that will help them propel them and become a sales cyborg, as I like to call it. So many businesses today, B2B businesses, they have a CRM system, but they're using it more like a database system where they can search through and search for names, search for companies and find somebody. Sometimes they log a meeting, they log an email or something relevant. Then they have their pipeline with the deals inside of the CRM. And again, one of the biggest problems with CRMs is it's not really updated, and another problem is that people are not really using a CRM properly. So they spend thousands of dollars every year on having this cool CRM system like HubSpot, Salesforce, Dynamics, whatever. HubSpot is the best, but they're not really utilizing the features. So it just becomes like a very expensive, cooler Excel sheet for them. And what happens is that salespeople, they will start using their own systems because they can't really see the benefit of a CRM system. So they're having their own leads in some spreadsheets or Excel sheets somewhere. They are writing down the task and that they need to follow up on certain people in the calendar or on sticky notes. And it makes it very, very hard for them to work streamlined. Imagine you have a salesperson, they're having their own system, right? They can probably only manage 20 to 50 leads at a time because this one is gonna get filled up. So that's just gonna minimize performance and the sales. If you had streamlined your CRM, they could probably have a capacity where they can take care of 150 to over 300 leads at a time without any of them falling through the cracks, all right? So that's a very key point. You have to be able to make their capacity larger without them burning out. What you need to do, first of all, you need to remove the manual follow-ups, and so those emails they sent to prospects that already had some initial engagement with, like those manual follow-ups where they write down on a sticky note or somewhere, like I need to call them back or I need to write them an email back, and they have to remember that up here or with the sticky notes or something else that's also manual that's gonna slip through the cracks. So imagine this, for example, you have a salesperson saying, no, I follow up my leads and I remember it because I put it in my calendar. 1 week later in the calendar they made an event to say, hey, now it's time to contact this lead again. Fine. You get to that day, something happens to that salesperson, right? They get sick, the child gets sick, some big task comes in that day that they just have to remove everything from the schedule and then do that. So they forget to look in their calendar. So now it's a new day in the calendar. There's nothing to remind them by that, hey, yesterday you forgot to do this, because it's a calendar. It can only show you that this was supposed to happen, but it doesn't have any feedback if you did it or not, right? So that thing is lost. That following up with that lead is gone unless the salesperson remembers somehow to do it later. It's better for the company, it's also better for the salesperson because it's a win-win, right? If the salesperson can have more leads engaged at a time and following up with them, it will create more sales opportunities and they will close more deals, which will mean more commission for the salesperson plus more sales for the business in general, of course. In our company, we have created sequence templates for each situation that would make sense to follow up by email automatically. For example, that would be after a call, you have a follow-up sequence that spans over a few weeks if they tell. After you made a proposal to a lead, there's a follow-up chain being fired off after that. When a contact has become inactive, you have a follow-up sequence to follow up with the lead over time. when you have a new customer that's closed and you want to make sure that they are satisfied, you have a sequence following up with them after a few weeks or months of them entering your service, which now they are of course talking to probably some consultants, some customer service, customer success manager, but you still follow up with them, which makes this prospect feel like you were there, like you're still thinking about them, even though you closed the deal. You're not just moving beyond that. So I think we have 9 sequences that is just designed to make the salesperson seem like a genuine person who actually cares, who follows up the lead, and it helps the salesperson to do it, because most salespeople are very people-oriented persons, right? They are people. They love people, they love to spend time with people, they love to be social, and that's why they became a salesperson, because they are really good at opening doors and connecting people, right? So they generally care a lot of the time, and we're just enabling them to actually show that care with their limited time and resources. You need to automatically, or at least semi-automatically, qualify leads that's coming into your CRM. Now this is another thing I see. You have some paid ads on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google Ads or whatever, where you might be having a price calculator or an ebook or something like that you're giving away for free, but it's a gated content, okay? So people, they sign up by giving you their contact information, so they become a lead for you. A lot of times, all of those leads won't be relevant. I see a lot of companies, they either don't qualify the leads, so that means the salespeople will follow up with these leads and they will waste a lot of the time because a lot of them are not relevant, or you have some management level or some person who's qualifying the leads and they have to sit through it every day and qualify them, and they spend a lot of time just doing that. What you should do is you should automate it, or you should semi-automate it. So when people sign up, put it in the forms and qualifying questions, or once they get into your CRM system, you know, a CRM system like HubSpot already has a lot of company insights. So when people, they sign up with their company domain in their email address, HubSpot will automatically pull a lot of data on that company, which you can use to qualify these companies or these leads even further and automatically, right? Then you can even go beyond that and say, okay, if it's within a certain industry, or if it's a company within a certain region, or based on a qualifying question, you know, or we can automatically assign that lead to the right salesperson as well. So again, saving time for the management part that's going to qualify and sort these leads out to the different salespeople. And another part is, of course, that then you will only send relevant leads to your salespeople, again, just making sure that you're reducing their waste time, aiming towards that to make sure that they spend more than 33% of the time actively selling. That means that they spend more than 1/3 of the time actually actively selling and actually doing what you hired them to do. Another quick and huge thing, like that's probably one of the quickest wins in saving the salespeople time to free up the time to actively sell, is you should not be wasting your salespeople time to log in that data, right? So the quick wins is, for example, again with HubSpot, you can synchronize your calendar, you can synchronize your email, you can synchronize your phone number with the CRM system. So that means all the calendar events that you have will be synchronized to the right contacts in the CRM system. All your emails back and forth with prospects would also be automatically logged in the system, called from within the CRM system with their own number, and then that call will also be logged. It can even be recorded and transcribed as well. That will reduce probably 80% of that salesperson's time logging data. 80% of the time, right? So management, you get your data. Salesperson, they get to go on about their day and do what they think is fun, which is just, you know, being on the phone, talking to people. You probably ask your salespeople once a week, once a month, like, hey man, can you just, you know, give me a quick overview of all the meetings, like all the activity and how it's looking with the deals and the pipelines, and you know, so because you don't have all that data logged and streamlined in your CRM system, you have to manually walk around the office maybe, or write or call your salespeople to get a overview of how it's going with the business and with the sales activities. You shouldn't do that. And it's a lot of wasteful time, both for the salesperson but also for the management team, instead of just having all that data streamlined and happening. And that also provides the management level with a real-time data overview and reports that I can actually believe in, right? Why should the salesperson spend time on describing what the meeting was about when you just have an AI note taker doing it for you? Save more time. I can see by the AI description that you talked about X, Y, and Z. And what is the next step? Well, if the salesperson did a good job in the CRM, you know, they shouldn't even be asking what's the next step with them, because they will have already put a task on that company and that deal in the CRM system saying that the next step is that I'm going to call them in 1 week. And then again, management would know exactly what's going on, saving time. And the follow-up will be super easy because the salesperson have it in a task in the CRM. They can't forget about it, because if they don't do it that day, it's just going to be an over deadline task, etc, etc, so nothing will be forgotten. Next up, reduce internal meetings and communication. So you spend a lot of hours internally every week having meetings and talks about how is it going and what is the strategy for these things, instead of just going into your CRM system. And then let's say you're working on a prospect with another of your sales people on your team. You go into that prospect, you can just put on a note, and then you can tag the person. It's like, hey man, should we do this? Or let's say, I need to remind my colleague to do this for this lead. Send them an ebook, or like follow up on the last email they had together. So you just go in and you create a task on behalf of that colleague, where you put in the description, and then it'll show up on their table, and then you can just throw them a Slack message or an email like that and say, hey man, I just created a task, you can just see it in the CRM system. That ensures that you both know what's going on with it, because you can both go in and see that task later, has it been done or not. Right, easy one. And also reduce the internal meetings, because management, you know, they want to have meetings with you to hear from the mouth of babes, as you always say, you know. They want to hear management level, they want to hear from the salespeople how it's going, to get that high level overview. But you don't need to if you have all the data in the CRM. You can actually just go in there, spend a few minutes every morning, all the data is real time updated, and then you don't need to waste your salespeople's time explaining you how it's going, because you can just see it there. Another quick win I would say is that if salespeople, they start using synchronized calendars with the CRM system, then in HubSpot at least you can have this meeting link. So that is actually, you can send them a link, a prospect, let's say, you send them a link, they open the link, and then it's open up a calendar view, so they can just choose what date it fits their schedule, right? And then they click on a date, and then it shows available times that is available for the salesperson, because he has synchronized it with his calendar. Send them one link, it's easier for both people. The prospect can just go in, pick a time that suits them in your calendar, and then it's done. Once they have submitted that, and you can even have qualifying questions there as well if you want, but once they have submitted that, it will create a event in both your calendars, ensuring that you don't forget about it, and it will also send pre-meeting reminders to both of you, so nobody forgets to actually show up to the meeting. Right, easy peasy, a lot of time saved. So this is just few of the things that you can do to actually get your salesperson to become a super performing sales cyborg, as we like to call it here in our business. Start implementing these things, and then start making more sales, and have a happier salesperson, because they reduce the tasks that they probably don't like. They just want to be actively selling and talking to people, and they will also, you know, get to make more commission because they free up more time to just sell. They can manage more leads. Again, like these manual processes, you can probably only handle 20 to 50 leads, and a lot of them will still fall through the cracks because you're forgetful. With these systems, you could handle 150 to over 300 leads at a time without forgetting about them, because it's all accounted for. So just before we're going on, I just wanna say thank you for seeing the video this far. If you think this is helpful, these kind of tips that I'm throwing out here, you know, I'll really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to the channel or giving this video a thumbs up. Only if you think I deserve it. You know, we're not looking for handouts. We just want to try to bring value to the people that we want to please and serve. So I hope these tips made a lot of sense for you. And other than that, I just want to say bye.